Welcome everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Duana Welch, and she's an author of Love Factually, 10 Proven Steps from I Wish to I Do. So we're talking about today 6 times women say yes but shouldn't. So before we jump into it, Duana, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about you and what made you write this book.
Sure. Well, my own relationship failures kind of inspired me to do the research that led to the book. My husband and some fans of my blog are the people who got me to actually write it. But I have a PhD, but it's in developmental psych. It's not in relationship science. But I was having a really hard time with my love life, and it occurred to me, well, maybe some people have done research on this. I was doing research on other things, so I thought, well, maybe somebody's done this, and they had. Lots of people had done research into what makes or breaks long-term good relationships, how to date, that sort of thing. And so I thought, well, my life is my own experiment. I can try this out. I can see what works and what doesn't for me, what feels good, what feels terrible, because what I'd been doing just wasn't working. And so I was willing to try things, and it worked beautifully. And then that turned into clients and a blog and a book. And now I'm actually working on another book. So I love my life and I love my husband, and I'm excited to finally have a resource that's based in fact instead of just opinion to use with people.
I love that. And ladies, like she said, it worked for herself. She met her husband through online dating. So tell us 6 times women say yes but shouldn't.
Okay, so the overarching theme here is that women have a strong desire for commitment. And there are perfectly valid, wonderful reasons for why we have this desire. But unfortunately, having a generic, strong desire for commitment can cause us to overlook a lot of things we shouldn't overlook. And I'm lumping this in 2 different categories. So the first 3 times we should say no are all related to dating. And women, if you just want to hit it and quit it, you just want to go out there and woo, I'm having fun, you don't need my advice. Because research shows that men respond very favorably to women just offering strings-free sex. So go do that. But if you want attachment, if you want a deep, committed relationship that leads to marriage, then don't say yes if the guy says, the first time he wants to go out with you, hey, you want to hang out? That's not a request for a date. That's a request for a booty call, and he's not taking you seriously, and he's not going to. It's kind of a little bit of a pet peeve of mine that so many women unconsciously are training men to treat us badly, and then they're getting upset at the men for treating us badly.
There's a quote, and I use it a lot in my coaching, and I have no idea who said it, but I know you've heard this before, is men will treat you how you allow yourself to be treated. And it's very true.
Yes, so have some standards. If he says to you, so you want to hang out sometime, just say, well, yeah, that sounds great, maybe some other time. And just don't ever say yes unless he asks you on a real date. He'll figure it out. Men who want you will figure it out. They will. In fact, men are, when they really want a woman, they're so focused on her that's where we get stalking charges. Almost all the stalking charges are leveled against men. When men want you, they'll do things, they'll think you like them even when you've said you don't. So don't think that you're putting them off. If they want you, they'll come get you. And they'll get you in an appropriate way, not an inappropriate way like you want to hang out sometime. So another corollary of that is don't say yes if they say, you want to meet me for dinner tonight? I just had this interaction with a client of mine this morning. Guy wants to meet her for dinner tonight. Okay, if you allow a man to treat you like an option, he's going to treat you like an option. And I want to emphasize, this is a high-powered woman. This is a woman with money. She's a woman with freedom. She's a woman with a very fine, keen mind. She's a beautiful woman. She's got a body by Barbie. I mean, she's got it all, and this guy's treating her like an option. Now, I don't want her to be bitchy to him. Having appropriate boundaries is not the same thing as being unkind. So the reaction to that is, oh, I'm really sorry, but I already have plans. I'd love to another time. And he will eventually figure out, wow, she's never available unless I give her at least 2 days notice. Third thing, if he calls you on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday, you don't even answer. If he texts you, you don't text back those days. Let him think you're busy because you are, because you're a grown-up and you have things to do. You've already planned your weekend. And if the only thing you planned was next Netflix and chill with yourself, that's fine. That was still a plan. Don't give him the message that you are so low status that you are hanging around waiting for him.
Well, that is true. And men do like a woman who has standards.
Yes, and they like a woman who has a life. I've had so many men say, I thought I liked her, because 80% of my clients are men. So I've had so many men say to me, I'm so confused. I thought I really liked her, and then she was available all the time, and now I can't figure out if I'm obliged to be with her or if I want to be with her. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be with a man who's unsure that he wants to be with me. And how men get sure is you are busy enough and happy enough, or at least faking it on both these fronts, that he gets enough breathing room to chase you a little bit.
Exactly.
So those are 3 of the 6 times to just, don't say no in a rude or bitchy way, but also don't be too available.
No, I completely agree. So now you said you have 3 times a woman says yes, like in a relationship, where she shouldn't. So tell us about those where she shouldn't.
Yeah, so one of them is some people say if there's more pain than pleasure in a dating relationship, you should end it. And I want to actually take that several steps further. You should ask yourself, are we having fun yet? And if the answer is no, then the answer is no. There are some excellent long-term studies that went on for 30 consecutive years of the same couples. That looked at their marriages. Were they happy? Were they unhappy? Did they stay together or not? What happened to them? Why did it happen? Can we teach other couples how to do what they're doing? And one of the upshots of this research was that happy couples have 20 times more positive interactions than negative interactions.
Wow.
20 times.
That's amazing.
Yes. So they treat love like a bank where in order to withdraw $1, they have to put $20 in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not 50-50. It's not 1-to-1. It's 20-to-1. So if you're with someone where you feel like it's more 50-50, I can tell you right now, scientifically, that relationship isn't going to last. What this laboratory found was that once that ratio dipped below 5-to-1, people got divorced.
Wow.
So it can't even be, you have to dramatically overbalance positive with negative. So if that's not happening and you can't get it to happen, let it go.
That's really interesting. That's a really good rule of thumb.
Yeah. And related to that, does your partner listen only when you've got a foot out the door? I'll occasionally have a client where she can get what she wants, but only if she's leaving. And I would say you need to leave and you need to make it stick this time, because here's what else we know from that same series of long-term marriage studies. We know that unhappy couples tended to get gridlocked, and that whether couples were, meaning that they couldn't move past their problems at all. And happy couples and unhappy couples both had a full 2/3 of their problems that never got solved, meaning that 69% of the problems that unhappy couples had never got solved in a whole 30-year study, and 69% of the problems that happy couples had also never got solved in a 30-year study. So part of what's going on is that happy couples are just better at dealing with their stuff. And I'll tell you how they deal with it. They care that their partner's unhappy. They don't need an or else attached to it. They don't need a threat attached to it. If you have to threaten your partner in order to get something that you have to have, it's never going to work.
Well, and also, I love that you said that, Duana, because it's, I have noticed this where, she's got, like you said, 1 foot out the door, and then all of a sudden he takes her seriously, and so then he starts to do things to change, and then she takes him back. But it's also programming him, too, that, all he has to say is, I'll change, and she'll come back to me, because she has before, right?
Yeah, the exception to this is if he's not making a commitment and you want him to, asking is going to get you nowhere. It's just going to confuse him even more, unfortunately. You can then leave, move on with your life, and if he wants you, he'll step up the commitment. But if it's other stuff that's not related to commitment, if it's not related to whether we're moving the relationship forward, if he doesn't care that you're unhappy, if he only cares when it's costing him personally something like you leaving, that's not love, that's selfishness. Get rid of it.
That's true.
Don't date the guy anymore.
Okay, and you have one last tip about this?
Yeah, it was so a really heavy duty relationship sometimes involves betrayal. And I don't just mean sexual. A betrayal happens anytime there's a mismatch between one person's expectations and what the other partner actually does. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and the word betrayal indicates that this is a big, either the issue is really important or that it's a really big deal. It's not like, I expected you to pick up the groceries and you didn't. This is really big. Like I expected that we were seeing each other exclusively, and it turns out we're not.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal, if we have a mismatch there. And so, what I would say is working through betrayals, there's a process and it's really difficult. And so you need to ask yourself, was the relationship worth it? Was it worth being in this relationship before the betrayal happened? Because there's no point in doing all this work if, in fact, the relationship actually wasn't worth it even before this happened.
That's a really, really good rule of thumb, because I've seen where people try to work it out and I'm like, but it wasn't working before that happened, right? So that's really true. Well, these have been some great tips, Duana. So tell our audience how they can find you and your book.
Sure, you can find me and my book at lovefactually.co. That's lovefactually with an F.co. And you can get a free chapter there as well.
Thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you'd like to view the videos, go to singleandstilettos.com. If you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. If you'd like to get our free ebook on the 3 secrets guaranteed to attract any man based on scientific research, just click right here on the video or go to singleandstilettos.com.